George, Jorge, Luis, thank you guys so much for being here and welcoming us. We are beyond humbled and grateful to be your guests here this afternoon in the glorious country of Nicaragua to experience Padrón in its full effect. For those who may be newer to cigars, can you give us a brief history of the story of Padrón?
So my father came from Cuba in 1961, and that journey for him was not an easy one. I mean, he left Cuba, he went to Spain. In Spain, he begged for money. Then he ended up going to New York and froze in New York and decided that New York was not for him. But eventually he made his way to Miami. You know, he quickly realized that there was something missing in Miami, which was great cigars. And in his mind, he always said, you know, the Cubans, they're gonna miss their homeland. I don't want them to miss their cigars. And because of the fact that he was born on a farm in Cuba and he had been exposed to tobacco his whole life, he immediately said, you know what, I'm gonna start a cigar company. He didn't have any financial resources to start the company, so he basically had to start the company with what he could. And he was doing carpentry work, he mowed lawns, and with the money that he earned from those jobs, he started Padrón Cigars, he started with $600. At the beginning, he didn't have much access to raw material, and the first cigar he made was a cigar called the Cazador. He had one cigar roller, and the guy would make the cigars during the day, and then my dad would go out in the afternoons and sell them.
Wow.
And he would go to like little Cuban cafeterias and put the cigar for sale, and he started seeing that it was a very difficult thing to penetrate and to get into the marketplace. But he always remembered there was one guy that was a friend of his that always asked him for a cigar called a Fuma. That guy kept asking him for that cigar, and my dad was getting frustrated with how things were going in terms of the market and how he was selling. So he said, you know what, let me try. So he has his roller set. He said, look, make me 25 cigars. Instead of putting the round head, and he put it in a bundle and he kept it there. And then he called his buddy that had been asking him for the cigar. He says, come over to the factory. I wanna show you something. And he says, okay, Padrón, what do you want to show me? He pulls out the thing and puts it on top and goes, oh, that's exactly what I want.
Wow.
And then my dad right there, like that reaction from that guy, he turned over to the roller. He goes, don't worry about Cazadores, just keep making Fumas. Yeah. Don't worry about it, just make Fumas. That cigar is what put Padrón on the map.
Yeah.
That cigar just took off in Miami, and it became, you know, like the #1 cigar in Miami amongst all the Cubans. You know, I always tell people, like, my dad was a great cigar guy, but he was so much more than a great cigar guy. He had tremendous character. He was very humble. You know, he always said to me that there were certain characteristics that he always appreciated in a person. First of all, humility. To him, humility was everything. Appreciation or gratitude was another. He always said, anyone whoever helps you along the way, you can never forget those that help you. And then the last one was the integrity of the family name. Those three things are the three things that you need to always keep in mind whenever you're making any decision or doing anything in terms of your business and how you treat people. He didn't have an easy upbringing. You know, he had having to leave Cuba and all that. And I think that those experiences for him early on served him very well for the challenges that he had after he started this company. To the day he died, he never changed. You know, he was always the same. And it wasn't about the money for him. He had a clear path of where he was going. And he didn't pretend to be somebody he wasn't. He was very firm on who he actually was and what he did. And obviously for him, the family was the foundation of everything. You know, everything he did was for his family. And that's why, you know, to this day, we honor him. When he passed away, the first thing that I did is I came here to Nicaragua and I told all of our employees, listen, nothing is gonna change here. We're still gonna honor all of the things that he did and what made us successful. I'm never gonna forget the people that have helped us, all of you that are here that have been with us for all these years, and what you've done for this company. I'm never gonna forget that. And that's exactly how it's been. And to this day, we haven't lost a single person that was here when he died. The families I still take care of, I still protect. And we have new people that are siblings or children of some of these original employees that are now taking on the roles of their parents, and that's really the essence of Padrón.
The most important thing my father has taught me and as working in this company is never to forget where we came from. You know, to remember exactly what my grandfather did to start this company and what my dad does currently to, you know, keep this company going is a very important part of our family. You know, I was telling you a little bit earlier about what I started doing in this company when I was, you know, maybe 12, 13 years old. I worked in, you know, for summer. I would come and help out in the factory, and I was putting stickers on boxes. And it was those type of things that, you know, stick with you because you remember those type of jobs. And it's hard to lose track of where we came from when you start in the company that way.
I think it's also important to note that we're a family of 4 siblings. All of us work in the business, and our children work in the business.
Yeah.
My dad started this company with certain traditions of family, but the family wasn't just the Padrón family, it was an extended family. It's a family of Nicaragua, and all of the employees that we've had here for many, many years, employees that have been with us for 30, 40 years. So when we say that Padrón is a family business, it is 100% family.
In a world of such mass production, what continues to keep Padrón one of the most revered cigar companies in the industry?
Our goal is quality,
Right.
and that is the number one thing that guides every single decision that we make in this company. Rapid growth in any business is not always a good thing. We've had time to develop and to grow little by little, and you have to really check your ego at the door if you're going to run a company like this, being a family business, and you got to be very clear on what your goals are. And I think that now when you ask that question, there's a million things that go into that question. Okay, how do we keep quality? Well, you know, obviously we're vertically integrated.
Right.
We're able to control our tobacco.
Yeah.
We have our own farms. We do everything ourselves. It gives us a lot of control on how we do things.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're not looking at the numbers. Right. We're focused on the quality.
Right.
And everything that we do is we're not looking at decisions based on, you know, a year out or 6 months out. We're looking at things 5 years out, 10 years out. Okay, is this decision gonna help us 5 years down the road?
Right.
Because if you start making decisions based on short-term goals, then you're cooked.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one thing that has helped us to stay and keep that quality line, which also our employees understand, and everyone is pushing in the same direction. You know, all of our employees understand that quality is first and foremost,
Yeah.
you know, and we're not cutting corners. I think that that's probably the most important thing, like that has helped us get to where we are. My dad always used to tell me, it takes years to build loyal customers. Years and many cigars.
That's right.
But it only takes a few bad cigars to lose them.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell my kids and all my family. I go, don't get cocky, keep your nose down, keep looking at what we need to look at, and don't worry about all the other stuff.
Yeah.
We're on top right now. People love our cigars, but that could change.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to sound negative, but that's just a fact.
Yeah.
This is a product that is very delicate. You know, there's a lot of little things that can go wrong, and you really need to keep your eye on all of those things in order to have a great product at the end.
Yeah. Padrón has such a signature taste, such a signature flavor profile. There's no other cigar like it on the planet. What do you think is the primary difference from Padrón cigars to the rest of the world's?
This is a product that most people that make it have a lot of pride in what they do, and they all have their own ways of doing it. I can only speak for us. We do everything exactly how it was done in Cuba in the early 1900s. Nothing has changed here. We're as traditional as it gets. We're on top of all the little things that could make or break a cigar. The fact that we're able to process our own tobacco and ferment it to the levels that we want to get it fermented to, that is a huge thing. It also allows us to blend. You know, you've seen multiple farms that we have here in Nicaragua. Each farm is different. You know, each farm, the soil is different.
Yeah.
We're in control of the process from beginning to end. And I think that for consumers, that's an important thing that for them to understand, that there's great advantages. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to get to where we are under those conditions where you're controlling everything from the ground up. But it's well worth it. And it pays off huge dividends in the final product and in the taste and in how we do things. We're not, again, we're not talking about huge volumes of production, and that gives us a lot of control,
Now, in your portfolio, you have lines, the 1000 series, Damaso, 1926, 1964, Family Reserve. What do each mean to the company in terms of brand development and what you guys have done with each line? As you come up with a concept, what is the motivation behind it?
We're not a marketing company, right? So we're not a company that's out there producing new products all the time. We come out with products when we feel that there's, number one, a need for it, and or a special occasion. Those really are the two moments that we think, okay, we should do this.
Yeah.
So all of the lines that we have a significance, right? Why did we do that? The first is a classic line. My dad, that was my dad's original blend. I mean, he did that from 1964. And then I came along, and when I started working with him in the early 90s, I started seeing that there were opportunities for different types of cigars, and we had the capability to produce them. So I was able to convince my dad, listen, I know that you have a lot of pride in that product, and it's a great product, but there are other things that we can do, and there's a market for it. And that was great that he listened and that he went with it, and we launched the 1964 anniversary series, which was really the first line outside of the classic line that we had. And that line was a tremendous success. It still is to this day, 31 years later, well respected by consumers, all around the world, and also by my colleagues in the business that respect what we do, which is a huge thing for me. That respect that we get is kind of like what drives, right? Like you want that. You want people to respect what you do. Since the launching of that line, then we launched other lines. I mean, I'll never forget it. When I went to my first trade show, that we had the classic line, that's all we had. People would smoke the cigar and they'd say, oh, this cigar is too strong. This cigar is not, I can't smoke that.
Yeah.
And that didn't mean that there weren't people that appreciated it.
Right.
But the majority, of the cigars that were sold at that time were lighter in flavor profile. Right. My dad didn't give a fuck about that.
Right.
He made cigars that he liked to smoke, and the ones he couldn't smoke, he'd sell. That was his way. He thought, I'm going to make a cigar that I like to smoke. Yeah. And whoever likes to smoke the cigar that I like to smoke is who's going to buy that cigar. Because I'm not going to make a cigar because some guy tells me that he wants a lighter cigar that tastes like newspaper. No, I'm not doing that. So, that was the thing, right? And then when I went to him with the anniversary, I said, look, we can make a cigar that's different. It could have more, different flavor profile. And he went with it. And then the 1926 came along, and I said, Dad, look, the market is shifting. Oh, because I didn't finish the classic line. So when I told him that, I said, when I came back from that first trade show, I said, Dad, people are telling me that this cigar is too strong. Maybe we should make something lighter. Right. And he says to me, and he told me that, and then he says, listen, be patient.
Right.
The market will come because flavor profiles, people have to adapt to them. Right. It's the same thing as when you drink a beer or a scotch. Like if you start off as a young, when you're old enough to drink, if you start off drinking a very heavy scotch, you're not gonna probably like it, right? You're gonna have to work your way into it. Well, cigars are the same exact thing. And he was clear on that from day one. Yeah. And he told me just like that, he goes, be patient, the market will come. People, that's going to change. And sure enough, over time, that's what's happened, right? When I started in the business, all the cigars that were sold were all Connecticut shade wrapper. Yeah. Now, there's still a lot of Connecticut shade wrappers sold cigars, but there's a lot of other cigars that are heavier in flavor profiles. So that's exactly what he said would happen. And that's why we, along with the market, started developing other cigars that were more complex, heavier, so that people that enjoyed Padron cigars would have an option to smoke a cigar in a heavier profile flavor than what we currently had. So that's really what launched the 1926 and of course the Family Reserve. And then within those product launchings, we had special cigars that we did to celebrate or commemorate special anniversaries or birthdays and all that. Yeah. But the 1920, so the 64 celebrates the 30th anniversary of the company. The 26 celebrates my dad's 80th birthday, 75th birthday. So that's why because he was born in 1926, so we launched it when he turned 75. And then the Family Reserve came out after that when we were celebrating anniversaries going forward from our 44th anniversary.
Yeah.
So, and then of course the Damaso came in, which was a huge thing, for us.
Yeah, something totally outside.
Totally outside the
normally
box,
do. Yeah.
and took a lot of convincing with my dad. He wasn't a big fan of that, just based on what I told you earlier, but he understood the reason why we were doing it. And I said, look, there's a lot of people coming into the marketplace that they might be afraid to get into a Padron because they think that it's too strong. And when a consumer walks into a retail store and says to the tobacconist and says, look, I'm looking for a cigar that's not so heavy, they wouldn't even look at Padron.
Right.
They'd just go somewhere else. So I said to my dad, look, we don't need to make a lot of these cigars, but it's an important product to have in the portfolio because it's going to give an option for all these loyal tobacconists that we have that represent our product so well to have a product like that they can say, okay, try this Padron. And it works as an entry point into the brand, and then they develop and they smoke, more full body cigars. So everything that we've done kind of has had a reason for doing it.
Yeah.
There's a certain flavor profile that is associated with our cigars, and the consumers are very knowledgeable these days. They have learned a lot about cigars. They have access to a lot of information. They have access to a lot of different products, and they choose Padron. Why? Because they believe in the product and they know it's consistent and they like the flavor.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to respect.
What is your vision for the future of Padron?
We've made a lot of decisions in the last few years that will allow us to have continuity, growth. But that growth and that continuity is all based on quality. As long as we can continue that quality-driven approach, the future is very bright. We're always inventing. I mean, we're always tasting, and there is something that I am working on now, but whatever we do with that is not, I can't really talk about it yet.
Of course.
But there is something in the pipeline for probably like a year down the road. This is trial and error. You just keep tasting cigars and tasting, and who knows? It might become some, it might not.
Right.
But that's the fun part.
Yeah, of course.
The fun part of this business is that that whole thing of the creation.
Something that we're insanely excited about is our Rare Finds collaboration with you guys.
We're not a company that does this type of product very often. For me, this is about relationships. You guys have been customers of ours for many, many years. There's a great level of respect, and we're fortunate enough to be in a situation where I'm able to do these things with people that I care about and that I am interested in furthering that relationship. I like to do business with people that are passionate about what we do.
Yeah.
And that understand that when you have a product like this in your hands, it's something that's taken a lot of time to do, and you appreciate the craftsmanship that goes into making it. And that's the bottom line. There's a saying in Spanish, and it says, Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. Tell me who you hang around with and I'll tell you who you are.
That's exactly right.
And I say, you hang around with the right people.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what they do, they gotta be good people.
That's right.
You surround yourself with good people, good things come.
Yeah. So after so many decades of excellence, what drives you every day when you walk into work? Oh man. Yep. That is exactly what I expected you to say.
I mean, what greater gift could he have given me than to have given me the opportunity to lead the company? So, I mean, every day I come in, I have a tremendous responsibility on my shoulders.
What do you think your dad would think about where you are today?
I think that my dad would be extremely happy, fulfilled. We have a family that is united. I mean, what more can you ask than that?
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that work in this company that are family members. It's not easy to do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, he'd be ecstatic with the way the business is going, but I think he'd be even happier at the way that the family is going.
Yeah.
So I think he would be very, very happy. I think he is happy.
Yeah, and again, I want to thank both of you for taking the time out of your week to spend with us here in Nicaragua and really show us what Padron is about in a real live basis. So I'm beyond amazed at what you've built and what you've continued to build, and we're honored to be partners with you guys in business, and we take that that task and that mission very seriously in what we do every day, and making sure that people are educated on Padron cigars and know what they're smoking, and we're very grateful to you guys for doing what you guys do, and it's important that you know that we truly appreciate you as humans and to be in business with you.
Thank you, Mike.
So
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
All right.
All right.
Good work.
I think that's good, right?